So hi everybody, my name is Stephen Lustigson and I have Juhi right next to me. So I'll go ahead and kick off the webinar here and start going through this PowerPoint that we have. Definitely feel free to utilize that Q&A function and we'll gladly get to all the questions as they come up or as we can. And so today we're really going to talk about how you can solve insecure file sharing, how you can combat shadow IT. And so the agenda of today is basically we're just going to do a quick recap of what shadow IT is. I'm sure everybody is pretty familiar with it already. And then we'll jump into really who is Box and how are companies like you using Box to combat shadow IT. And so before we get into it, really what we would like to know here at Box is what third-party tools are you currently using to share and access files? So go ahead and take a few seconds to mark those options there. And so as we'd expect, largely almost half are access files through email, through FTP, through file server, right? And that's what we find a lot with the SMB clients that we talk to today. I mean, that's just basically your standard infrastructure around granting employees access to files. The problem a lot of times with that is it's very difficult to extend email and FTPs and local file servers to mobile devices or to other applications. Those are largely silos that you can only access from inside the office. And as workforces get more distributed, as there's more of a proliferation of mobile devices, it's really important that we extend the content out of just what can be accessed within the office. And so that really brings us to why your employees are accessing documents through non-corporate mandated ways. So why is it that that email and FTP and local servers aren't doing the job? Why are they having to move to these other solutions? And so we definitely appreciate it if you could tell us what you think are the main options there. So it looks like the top two there are ease of use and mobile access to documents. And again, that sounds pretty much in line with what we hear today. That's why a lot of people come over to Box is first off just for the ease of use. So if many of you don't know, Box actually has around 25 million users on the platform. Most of those are actually free users. So that means that's not exactly IT managers or IT departments forcing users to use Box. That's people that have gone to our website, signed up to use Box for free because it is easy to use, because they do like the features. And so that's definitely something that really resonates with us as well. And so to answer a question that was posed out there, how is Box different than Dropbox? And that's a great question. And really, in a lot of ways, Dropbox is a consumer file sharing tool. They base their business around sync and share, and that's what they're actually really great at. They do have a great desktop sync tool. So we actually don't see ourselves fully in Dropbox's space. The reason being, Box truly is an enterprise software product. If you look at a lot of our recent releases around metadata, around automations and workflow, they're very enterprise-type features. Where if you look at Dropbox's most recent releases and kind of their acquisitions around Carousel, like that photo sharing application, those are much more consumer-based applications. So really, it's you can't really compare Box and Dropbox in the sense of an enterprise file sharing tool. And so with those poll results, basically what we get to is that the way that we're working is accelerating business change. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that work hours no longer are just from 9 to 5. There's a lot of times you can be at home, you need to maybe access a presentation or work on a file, and VPNing in to access that file isn't exactly the best option anymore when all you can do is upload that file to Box or Dropbox or really any other cloud tool to access that file. And also, we've entered this sort of post-PC enterprise, where it's not just PCs and desktops that employees are using to work on office files, but there's iPads and there's tablets and there's mobile devices. And with that being said, really Box actually is a mobile-first strategy. So we've built native applications across all mobile platforms, across iOS, across Android, across Microsoft. And we want apps that are collaborative in nature. So we're no longer looking at companies that are investing in technology in a vertical stack where they're going to maybe Oracle or IBM or Microsoft to purchase everything for their CRM and their file sharing and ERP, but rather what they're doing is going for best-of-breed vendors, where it can be Salesforce for CRM, NetSuite for ERP, Box for content management. And so really what you need then is you need these apps to be able to collaborate with each other. And basically all that information is what we found back up from a lot of analyst reports. A lot of people out there are using multiple devices for work, iPads, iPhones, laptops, and quite a few are also using much more different applications for work. Again, that's going for more of the best-of-breed solution rather than implementing across a vertical stack. And workforces are becoming much more distributed. So it's no longer just one main office, but we work with a lot of industries where people are working from the field, again, from mobile devices, and still need that same access to information like they would have within an office. And what all this is doing is it's really creating a sharp divide between what your users want and what enterprise IT needs. So even though more apps are being deployed, you still need those apps to be secure, you still need those apps to integrate, and you still need reporting and provisioning across all those applications. But it walks a fine line between having all that and still making it easy to use, something that an end user can actually not only learn but use as well. And so that's really where Box comes in. We're from an end user side, very easy to use. It does actually look more of a consumer product from the end user side, but then from the actual admin side, it's more in line with what you would expect from an enterprise software product. And so I'll go ahead and ask one of the questions that were posed. Are you able to access files from Box offline when mobile devices might not have internet access? And that's a great question, and the answer is yes. So from any mobile device, you can log into the Box app and access all your files and really easily save those files offline. So one of our larger enterprise clients is Sunbelt Rentals, and what they use the Box mobile application for is pretty much taking content from Box and saving it locally to their device. And there's a feature as well where it's basically a refresh of those saved files. And so every time they get back to an internet connection, they'll hit this refresh, and any new changes that were made to those files that they've saved for offline use are automatically updated. So when they go on the field, they can always know that they're working off the most up-to-date product spec reports and tech sheets. And so with all this talk about the post-PC enterprise and distributed workforces, right, we get into really what role does Box play. And our mission statement is, our mission is to make businesses more productive, competitive, and collaborative by connecting people and their information. And so really what you get with Box, and it really starts with the end user. If we don't have our users actively using our product, then we don't have a viable business model. So everything that we focus on is ease of use. And then, of course, instant mobile productivity, the fact that from an engineering perspective, we are mobile first. So any mobile platform that is out there will always be developed onto it. I don't know if anybody was watching the Apple keynote earlier this week, but with the new release of iOS 8, they have a new feature called extensions where you can actually, where the actual operating system integrates with external file sharing sources. One of those will be Box. And then as far as best-in-class security, we are SSA 16, Type 2, SOC 1, and SOC 2 compliant. We're HIPAA compliant, EU, US, Safe Harbor, and there's also a lot more in the roadmap as well. So security is something that we've really ingrained into our core as well. Again, just being an enterprise software product, security is something that is at the highest priority with our engineering teams. And so I want to answer a great question that was posed, and that's, can an enterprise see all files in its Box account to have a certain amount of control of what leads the company? It's a great question, and the answer is yes. So from an admin perspective, what you can do is actually have a bird's eye view into all of your users. You can actually click into a user, see all the files and folders that they have. Even if it's just something that's a private folder, you can still, as an admin, see all that. And additionally, for each end user, they have the ability to run a full text search across all of their content. So if they were to search for a term like, let's say, cloud, that result would pull up all wherever cloud is in the content that they have access to. From an admin perspective, if you were to run that same search, it's running it across all the files owned by all of your users in your enterprise account. So it actually doubles as more of an e-discovery type tool. Cool. And so this is a little bit more of what we've been talking about. But basically with Box, it allows you to share, access, and manage your information from anywhere. So we start off first with that simple sync and share use case. So that's common to what you get with a cloud product today. To you're always syncing the most up-to-date versions of content to your devices and able to share them seamlessly with whoever you want, regardless of file size. And then specific to Box, we have best-of-breed integrations with any other applications that you have there for your business, such as, again, Salesforce for CRM, NetSuite for ERP, DocuSign for electronic signature, etc. And then from a security perspective as well, again, something that we're always focused on. And so we give you that with actually 7 levels of user permissions for folders, that e-discovery type searching tool, actual DLP technology as well built into the product. And these are all things that you just get with the platform. And so just a quick screenshot of the Infotech analyst report. There's been a lot of analyst reports out there, and obviously we drink the Kool-Aid quite a bit here at Box, but it's nice when an analyst actually validates it. And so here we are as actually the only champion for cloud file sharing. And this was a report that was just based off of end user functionality and admin security as well. And so really what we're getting is that Box is more than just an application for collaboration, but it's really a platform for business transformation. So it's not just about replacing legacy file servers or replacing legacy FTPs, but it's actually about enabling new and better use cases. And I'm going to answer another question that came up here, and it was around so you can run e-discovery, but can you set filters to block certain types of data, i.e. anything with a social security or account number? That's another great question. And so that's something that is actually a very new feature for Box. And it's part of we call it our lightweight DLP suite around policies. And what you can do is you can set certain policies for certain security level events. One of those being if a file is uploaded with a social security number or an account number. And so basically what Box will do is it will detect that file is being uploaded, and it will send it over to a quarantine area, which means that the user that's uploading that file will be prompted saying this file has been moved to quarantine, and then the admin will be notified. And then the admin can actually go into the quarantine and check if that actually is a file that goes against its policy, or if it was a false positive. And if it was a false positive, then the system's actually going to learn it and adapt to that sort of content. All right. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over here to Juhi, who's going to talk about some customer stories and really how other companies have been using Box.
Hi, this is Juhi. Thank you, Stephen. So we have a lot of customers that have been using Box in a certain way, and I'm going to go through at least 3 use cases right now to kind of show you what they've been what was the use case and what was the problem statement, and how Box came in and changed their view and helped them with their workflow and even saved them a lot of money. So we have just to name drop a couple of customers that we already have. We have like PG&E, we have McCain, we have Michigan, we have AARP and Netflix as our existing customers. And I'd like to go into a little more deeper dive into some of our customer stories. So the very first customer story that I want to talk to you about is about Dunn Building Company, which is basically a construction company. So before they came to Box, they were having a lot of trouble with their project management system, because what their project management system involved was scanning a whole bunch of documents, burning them in a CD, and mailing it to their partners or to people who they want to collaborate with, and then assembling all those CDs and printing those papers out and assembling them in binders. And that sounds like a really, really tough and rigid workflow, in my opinion, especially for project management. And which is why when they came to Box, we were like, okay, awesome, this is a really great use case for us, and we can really help you out in a lot of different ways. Which is why what we provided to them was an entire workflow around being able to upload a lot of files at once, bulk upload files to Box, and transfer them over or have people collaborate with them just by inviting them in as folders. You'll see that feature in a little bit when we deep dive into the demo, but that was kind of the gist of this particular deal. Once they did adopt Box, the best part was that we almost helped them save $10,000 per year in printing and postage costs. So I thought that was a really good and successful way of using Box and helping them come in and change and completely disrupt their workflow for done building companies' benefit. Another thing to note here is because it was a construction company, what Box did let them do is they let them preview AutoCAD files with the help of our OneCloud partners. And a lot of our other OneCloud partners help you view a lot of different types of files that you can't normally view in other file sharing systems. So that was also a really big USP for Box. This was the first use case. So let me jump into the second use case, which is basically for Jamba Juice. The problem statement here was that Jamba Juice was having trouble sharing files with a lot of their international locations. And when they tried to use FTP and SharePoint as their potential solutions, the solutions they were providing weren't streamlined enough. Which is why when Box came in, we kind of gave them like a big portal that would help them share content with all their franchises all over the world. And there was also like a sister use case for this use case where we helped them share a lot of their digital marketing assets, which are essentially really big files. It was really easy to upload those big files to Box because we have like a 5 gig upload limit. And that really helped them fasten their workflow again. And bulk upload all of these files without really having to slow down their process or their workflow. So essentially you would think about it in a way that with the click of a button and with just any of their franchises logging into a portal, they had access to all the files that they ever wanted access to and never had to deal with security issues or never had to go ahead and wait for like an FTP solution that would take hours just to transfer files and give you access to them. So that was another really cool use case. Another thing to note here is that not only did a Box allow them to view all these files, it also helped all these franchises to collaborate on and maintain versions of. So let's say a franchise had an updated version of their inventory. It was really easy for them to upload it to Box as a new version of a given file and have Jamba Juice and the admins on the Jamba Juice side view these files right away, almost instantaneously, and get real-time notifications. That's another thing that we will go into a deeper dive in when we go and talk about Box's demo. So our third use case was a company, Molson Coors, which was basically they were having a lot of pushback from their employees when it came to the BYOD policy. For all those who don't know, BYOD is basically bring your own device. They really wanted all their employees to be able to bring their own device and still have and maintain a hold on the data and on the content that's been flowing and on the actions that the employees are doing on their own personal devices. The whole thing with their philosophy was that FTP and SharePoint did not match up to their needs because accessing mobile content is a little bit tricky with those solutions. And Dropbox had the famous security problem where you could lose a lot of data and you could be really, really insecure if you shared your Dropbox files or your Box files with the help of Dropbox on your own device. This is again where Box came in, and our Box's admin console really played a really big role in getting this deal for us, because not only did we have full visibility into who was doing what, we could also device pin a lot of people, and we could also have extreme granularity into who was uploading a file, who was previewing a file, who was viewing it and not viewing it. So from an IT person's perspective and from an admin's perspective, this is probably the best use case in today's term, because today's workflow and today's enterprise employees, they want to bring their own devices to work, and they want to be able to work from wherever they want. The way, not only, like if I do keep the security part aside, and if I do keep the visibility and granularity part aside, what was really cool and that came across really well in this use case was that a lot of the legal department, a lot of the execs were able to edit their files on iPads because of the solution that Box brought in. They specifically used our OneCloud partner called CloudOn, which would help them edit, collaborate on, annotate files on their iPads as well. This helped them streamline their entire sales process and definitely increase employee productivity.
All right, wonderful. And so I'm going to actually go ahead here and answer a couple questions that have come up. First question, if users work on the same file, how are comparisons made on which version will be overwritten? That's a great question, and it's a question that we get quite a bit. Obviously, traditionally today, you have the option to lock a file or basically check out a file. We have that same feature within Box. What we found, though, is that that's still prone to user error, right? Users just forgetting to check out a file. And so what we like to do is focus more on, okay, if that actually happens, how do we handle that process? How do we make it seamless for an end user? And so with that, our versioning really comes into play. Box tracks every version that's uploaded to the platform, and it will track it all the way down to the second, and it gives very clear reporting of who uploaded the file, where it came from, and at what time and what date. So in the case that there is a conflict, what we'll do is we'll notify the user who last saves, so basically the person who saved secondly, and notify them that there's a conflict. They can go back and they'll actually be able to see both versions of the file and be able to reconcile it themselves. Another question here is, so I have Office 365. Why should I buy Box instead of using SharePoint or OneDrive that are included with my company's subscription for free? Great question. Again, something that we do get quite a bit. And really, I think it just goes back to this paradigm shift from acquiring a vertical stack to a best-of-breed solution. So, I mean, that's what Microsoft's trying to do, is just give you a vertical stack and give you all these options. The problem is still with SharePoint, largely it's the same thing that you're going to run into with the file server and FTP. It's not easy to use. People don't scream and shout with joy normally when they go into SharePoint. And so you can always implement OneDrive, but if you have anybody with a Mac, then OneDrive doesn't have an OS X compatible desktop sync tool. And then there's a lot of other limitations with the platform around file size, around specific file types. And again, with just user adoption as well, it doesn't really fit into how most users are interacting with content. And so that's still why a lot of enterprises are still deploying Box company-wide. Just recently, General Electric decided that they're going to roll out Box for their 350,000 employees instead of deploying SharePoint or OneDrive. And really, that was the main reason, was because they had identified with their users that SharePoint or OneDrive wasn't going to give them enough features to really interact with their company content. And just to give an overview as far as Box's architecture and how we back up content. So when you upload a file to Box, we're going to encrypt that file at 256-bit during transit, and then it's encrypted on our servers at 256 AES. So at no point is a file ever in an unencrypted state within Box. And then once the file is uploaded into Box, we have multiple geographically dispersed data centers. We have our own business continuity strategy, disaster recovery servers as well. So contractually, we actually do commit to a 99.9% uptime in our SLA. Traditionally, we will achieve much higher than 99.9%. Yeah, so a question around the encryption keys. So really, there's only a handful of senior security engineers here at Box who actually have the means to decrypt company's content. It's definitely not something where any Box employee can go in and see what our company or see what any of our clients are uploading into Box. And so for us to actually go ahead and decrypt a client's content, we have to go through a very, very heavily audited process. Normally that will only happen at the request of the client for support purposes or things like that.